All right. So for the offensive line, we're just running our outside zone principles. All right. But what a lock is, it means that our backside tackle is going to remain one-on-one here with this defensive end. All right. So if we can look here, we see all four of these guys working outside zone. So really it's these four for 1, 2, 3, 4 for those three down linemen and that linebacker. All right. We're locking the backside here. And actually, what we're going to see with this fullback, he's going to do what's called an insert. All right. And he's going to block our remaining box player. Okay. So what we see is we have 6 blockers. All right. We have 6 blockers for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right. And the whole point of this play is to account for this player. All right, so the quarterback is going to read him. He's what's called our +1. If he does decide to add into the box here or add into the run fit in some way, as coaches, we have the ability to add tags out here. So whether there's 1, 2, or even sometimes 3 receivers out here, we can run different concepts out there that are going to essentially punish this player for entering into the run fit. All right, so that's our job, is to structure our plays to essentially protect our plays so that we're getting 6-on-6 and that we're not being taken advantage of in the box. All right, so I want to look at each player one-on-one, and I want to talk about some of the principles that make this play effective. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the left tackle here. His job is he's going to try to reach this defensive end. All right. And a good rule of thumb is to aim for the play side armpit. All right. So really he has 3 steps to decide whether he's going to be able to reach this player or not. All right. Obviously his leverage is he maintains his outside leverage. There's no chance our tackle is going to reach him. But we have to understand that in this wide zone play, that is not a bad thing. All right. That's not a bad thing. So what the defensive end gave us, he gave us perfect leverage to block him out, right? So that we can actually block him. Look how far he blocked him out of the play, all right, and create space. So if we can look here and understand the theory behind this play. So this is the idea, okay, is that we have a 6-on-6 here, and the amount of space that we have is essentially from this defensive end to this defensive end. That's how much space the defense has to contain our running back. So when we use wide zone, what we're trying to do is we're just trying to increase that amount of space. So if we look now, it's still 6-on-6, but the amount of space went from maybe 12 yards, maybe 14 to about 18 or 20, right, by the end. All right, so we're just increasing the amount of space with our best ball carrier with the ball in his hands. And we're going to give him the option to find a lane that he likes and hit it vertically. All right, let's look at our left guard here. Left guard has a guy in his gap, so that's who he's going to try to reach. So takes a good couple steps here. He wants to fight to try to get his helmet on this side if he can. But it's funny because the defensive lineman, his job is don't get reached, right? He wants to maintain this gap. So we're going to try to reach him. All right, that's objective number 1. And in this case, again, we're unable to reach him because he's following his rules. So by that 3rd step, we've decided we can't reach him. We have to understand that we have a contingency plan. We're not just going to accept that and sit right here and say, oops, I didn't get it. We're going to push him out and continue to create more space for our running back. And that's exactly what our guard does. And that's a good job. All right. Our center here has an interesting block because there is no one in his play side gap. All right, so the rule, a good rule, is to chase the hip of the player in front of you. The reason that we chase the hip is because just in case this guy slants or we get a blitz or some sort of exotic front or situation, we'll be prepared and we'll maintain our gap integrity. All right, so he takes his steps and he's going to work up to this linebacker. All right, backer sees the flow. This is a really cool. We'll talk about what's happening in the backfield, but this linebacker sees the running back taking this horizontal track, so he flows, and that's how this play is going to look a lot. Is we're trying to expand horizontally, right? They don't let us do that because they're well coached. They don't let us do that. But in turn, they're gonna create a gap for us to hit, right? We just got to have a good running back who can decide which gap that's going to be. Okay. So, all right, let's look at our right guard. Right guard, decent first step. We would like to see him fight a little more to get that head on the other side. All right, but again, this defensive lineman does a good job of knowing his job and understanding that he doesn't want to get reached. All right, and at this point, just like the other guys, he's probably better than anybody else maintaining the potential for a reach here, but he gets here and he says, you know what, I'm just going to force him out, right, and just create more space for my running back. So great job. So we look at the play side tackle here. He's the only lineman that's not following outside zone rules. That's why it's called lock here. So essentially what it is, it's just a form of one-on-one. Really, it's like an aggressive pass protection here because we have the ability here, the quarterback, and you'll see this here if you look at the mesh, the quarterback is reading this +1 defender, right? He's reading this seventh guy. We have 6-on-6. We're happy. This is the guy who can try to change that. Quarterback is reading him, making sure that he is respecting this space out here that he's also covering. This guy has 2 jobs. He's a conflict player, right? So we're giving him a choice. Hey, you want to come add into the run fit? I'm going to throw a little hitch here, or a little quick slant, or whatever it may be. And as coaches, we can, decide which tags we prefer for each play. Okay? So he has to understand the right tackle, the launch point of the quarterback. So he's protecting and understanding that our quarterback is potentially going to be throwing the ball from right here. So that is essentially your job. All right. Last guy is our sniffer here, our H-back, fullback, whatever you want to call him. He's inserting, so it essentially turns into like an ISO play. He's ISOing on this linebacker here, and he does a really good job of understanding the leverage of this space. He keeps his head on the inside, but he still remains square and he remains vertical, right? So that gives our running back freedom to make the decision of where he wants to go. And really what we did here is just, we tried to create a seam. None of these guys were able to reach their guy, but that's okay because by us trying to reach them, they get so far horizontally that we end up creating really like a B gap, really an A or B gap vertical run. So we're happy with that. So let's see here. Let's watch our tailback. So he's going to take what's called a rocker step. All right, so his right leg is back here, and it's really important that we coach that this is a one-cut play, no cut, one-cut play. All right, and it's very important that we coach. You have to take your 5 steps, okay, and then it's non-negotiable. You have to build that muscle memory that he takes his 5 steps horizontally at his landmark or his aiming point, which is the outside leg of the ghost tight end. So if we were to have a tight end here, the outside leg, that's his aiming point. So his 5 steps have to be at his aiming point because if he decides right here, I know he is kind of deciding, but he needs to get those 5 steps so that we can get this flow, right? If he decides like right at the mesh that he's going to go there, and let's watch this player right here. Let's watch this player right here. So he's on his 3rd step. So it's these last 2 steps right here of the tailback. Those are the steps that make him flow. And that's really what creates this seam. So we have to build that muscle memory because instincts for this guy, he's going to see this hole sometimes and he's going to want to cut it up early, but he's not going to realize that it's going to get filled unless we're really selling this stretch horizontally. And the way that we can coach this to our tailbacks too is D gap to C gap to B gap to A gap. And it's just a yes or no. So you're taking that hard track. Is the D gap open? I'm going to take it. We want to break contain. Is the D gap open? Great. I'm going to take it until it isn't open. C gap, B gap, A gap. Just reading it outside in. And again, it truly is a one cut play. He needs to understand if you're going to cut, that is the lane that you've chosen to take. We can't have multiple cuts. We're trying to make this a vertical play. Okay. Quarterback obviously has the opportunity to pull it. Is reading his +1. And if we look at him, they always say the hardest thing to change is your hips. If your hips are facing a certain way, you're probably going to go there. So I like to look at this guy and look at his hips, look at his body language. There's just no chance that he's going to be effectively entering into this run fit. So good job giving the football. And yes, he is able to come over here and at least be part of the tackle, but he didn't touch him for about 10 yards. So we're very happy. We protected our run play. And that is the whole point of an RPO. It is a run where we have the option to pass it, but we want to run the football. We just want to create contingencies to where if we see something that is too aggressive by the defense, we have built into the play the ability to take advantage of that. And that requires a quarterback that really understands these concepts at a high level. You're going to have to watch a lot of film with them, and you're really going to have to teach him how the game works. So, all right, guys, thank you.